everybody. Great to have you along. My name is Scott Murray, and we welcome you to Conversations of Connection. We're talking about mental wellness in sports and in life. Yes. How you doing, partner?
I'm doing really well.
Good. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All
I'm
right.
excited
Good,
to talk about
Well,
this.
you got a brand new month.
We do.
September has arrived.
Fall is here.
Yes, indeed it is.
The weather's getting cooler a little bit.
All right. Well, tell the world who you are and what you're all about, and we'll get going.
Well, I'm Dr.NinaRiosDoria, and we've enjoyed doing the show together that we just launched in the spring, and we've been having some great guests on the show.
We really have. It's been most exciting.
Yeah, and just they really get really personal.
Well, they have great stories, and a lot of times you don't know the whole story. You hear, oh, yeah, I know who he is. I know what she's all about, and boo-boo. But then you go, wow, you got to be kidding me. That's what you do and endure every day of your life?
Yeah.
And you just kind of step back. And again, whether it's in sports or whether it's in life, it's a whole different world.
Yes, and I remember,
and especially in our world that we all endure today, huh?
Yes, it makes you feel like I'm not alone. Others are dealing with stuff behind closed doors, and our guest today is going to be sharing some of that too.
Go for it. Introduce us.
So I'm excited to have this guest on our show.
Yeah. You want me to do this while you're introducing him?
Yeah, sure. You can do that in background.
Okay.
He started wrestling when he was 5 years old, and he wrestled and was really successful throughout high school and college. He went off to transition into UFC fighting, got involved with that, and mixed martial arts, was very successful at that, was on a reality show, and now he is doing something that's new but really challenging, and believe it or not, he's really successful at that as well. Bare knuckle fighting. Welcome, Johnny Bedford.
And then you say to yourself, before we say hello to him, what the devil is he thinking?
Yeah.
Bare knuckle fighting?
What is that?
I watched some videos of this guy the other day. Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
That said and done, as Nina just said, welcome.
Welcome,
Well,
John.
no, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, it's an honor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just when I was talking with Scott and sharing your story, he was so impressed, as I was, and just how you persevered through different sports and have done so well. And that doesn't just come naturally. You have to work at it, and you have to mentally work at it. Where do you feel when you start thinking back at your path, where you started thinking, hey, this is a lot more mental, and I need to work on that part of my game?
That's a great question. Because this career, this game, fighting is, I say it all the time, 100% mental. You kind of know how that night's gonna go before you even walk in that ring. There's levels to that, right? Because you have self-doubt. Have you really dotted all your I's? Have you always crossed all your T's? Are you really prepared, like you've said on social media all week? But it's also like your mental health or your performance. It's so, how do I word this? It's affected by your personal life, right? When your personal life is a mess, your professional life is a mess. And obviously, I've reached some great highs in this sport, and I'm very proud of it. But I also coach, and it's probably one of the hardest things to do to get to these young guys to understand that. Like, guys, if you don't understand, like, if your personal life is all messy, you got angry girlfriends, or you're worried about your car payment or paying rent, whatever else, that stuff's gonna affect your performance. And like, if you got outside worries, we're in the wrong place right now. So. Mental, when did I guess the question was, when did I realize it? I was lucky to meet some great people. I'll give him credit. Dr. Brad Jerica, he's now over in Asia working in psychology field somehow. But I met him when I was in the UFC. A big moment for my career was I got accepted to the Ultimate Fighter TV show in 2011, and then fought for the UFC for a couple of years. And during that, just like y'all know, he knew that this game is mental and there's a place for that. And he and I worked together closely for a few months. We still have a great relationship. I'm very thankful for that guy. And the things that he taught me then are things that I'm now trying to pass down to these next generation of guys that are trying to do this for a living. And it's just, it's so important, the mental side of this. You can't explain it enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Johnny, let me ask you this, and I guarantee 90% of the people that are out there watching this right now are saying, wow, but why? How do you get started in that? In the fact that every time when we go to work, we get behind a microphone. This bad boy's not going to come slap us upside the head.
Yeah.
Why?
It's a great question. Why? How did I get here? I'm a competitor, and I've always been that way. I would want to be a professional football player as a kid, like we all do. The
So what happened to
problem
that?
is I'm 5'10" and 140 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't going to happen, you know.
Makes
and
sense.
I excelled at wrestling. I grew up in Ohio, which is a big wrestling state, and did really well. My family, I had an amazing support system. My mom and dad supported me. My poor siblings, all of our family vacations were based around big wrestling tournaments and stuff, and we traveled the country, and they gave me every opportunity I could have to succeed, and I did well. I went on to college. Could have done better, made some young and dumb decisions, and didn't stay all 4 years. But that's what ultimately led me to the path, or led me down this path of mixed martial arts. This is 2001. I graduated high school, 2002, 2003. I'm in college, and you're watching wrestlers dominate MMA because they could take guys down and put them in like they could control where the fight was standing, if they were, or where the fight was taking place, I should say. If they were winning when they were boxing, well, they didn't let that guy take him down. If they weren't winning, well, just take him down, right? We have that advantage as a wrestler. And so I said, I want to do that. I want to do that. This was 2003. And I had my first amateur fight in 2003. And it was crazy because I spent my own gas money to get there. You don't get paid to do it. You just
Right.
you know what I mean, you're out $300 as a young kid. You're like, what am I doing this for? But we did it a bunch. I did 6 fights as an amateur. Was 6-0, and then kind of took a break because this is still the dark ages of MMA. MMA has came so far in just my lifetime through this sport that it was like, what am I doing this for? Like, it's cool though. I get to go home and tell my friends I want to fight, but like I'm losing. Like, anyways, 2005, a guy called me and said, "You want to get paid to fight?" And I thought it was the greatest idea. Like, yes, I want to get paid to fight. I think he paid me $200 to fight and $200 more if I won. And they paid my gas and hotel, so that was the icing on the cake, I guess. But yeah, for $400, I was like, now a professional fighter.
When you just said a minute ago, you said, I asked myself, why am I doing this? When you had that moment, you paused, and you weren't getting paid at that moment. What was your why? Like, why did you say, you know what, this is why I'm doing this? What was it that made you continue?
Because I knew I was good at it, right? I was having fun. I enjoyed it, right? Winning's fun. I'm a little rougher on the edges. Fighting's fun. I've had lots of those moments throughout my career, if I'm being honest. That's just like the tip of the iceberg. As an amateur, like you weren't getting paid, so it was like kind of like there was no notoriety. There was nothing like, what are you doing this for, you know?
Yeah.
It's come to points where I've had to ask myself, why am I doing this? Because I have a wife and kids now. You know, I've had those struggles numerous times through this thing. So,
Would you want a child of yours to follow in your footsteps and do this someday?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It's not an easy living. And wow, if we're gonna go deep in this one because they're not my kids, but I do care about. I call them kids. They're 24-year-old men that want to fight in the UFC, and they're super talented. I run a gym and I coach these guys. And I tell them, like, you need to be all in because if you're half in, you're wasting your time. Go to college, go get a trade school, go get a CDL, do something, because my biggest fear for them is they're going to become 30 years old and MMA didn't work out because they kind of half-assed it, and now they have nothing to fall back on. That's my biggest fear with kids today that are chasing this dream. I wasn't going to take no for an answer. If I'm being honest, I was going to make it. I don't know. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole too more, but I bought in quick that this is what I was going to do. And I got a big break in 2007. A gym in Fort Worth, Texas asked me if I want to move here and run it. It was a national franchise gym. I knew nothing about it. Saw an ad on a mixed martial arts website that I would go to at night when the baby went to bed. I just had a newborn baby back then. And they called me the next day and said, we want you to move to Texas. And I was like, well, what? I got to tell my wife, like, we got this job opportunity. And that was it. Like, I was waiting for my chance. And when I got an opportunity to move to Texas, it gave me some income, not a lot, but it gave me income and it allowed me to focus on MMA full time.
Yeah.
Hindsight, good move.
Best move ever made.
One of the things I'm noticing as you're just talking and going back to that why, and you just do it. You just felt like this was your place. You just have this competitive spirit. Just, I got to do it. I can do it. And I'm wondering where that came from. Where did this competitive spirit that's been since you were probably 5 years old? Where do you think that came from? Who is that modeling after?
Great question. I think, partly you could say he was born kind of competitive, but I think that in a very good way that my father fueled that fire.
Uh-huh.
My dad and I have a great relationship. We're the best of friends. I was so blessed with the parents I was given. But my dad saw that I had talent, and he did everything he could. My dad would work 80-hour weeks.
And wasn't he a coach?
He was my varsity wrestling coach.
That's
so
what
my
I
dad
thought.
was smart. He when I was 5 years old, he stepped in as the volunteer elementary coach, and he knew what he was doing. He was getting his foot in the door because he was going to eventually be that varsity
Got a
wrestling
plan.
coach when I got there. And and I played t-ball or baseball and soccer and every other sports as a kid too. And all the athletic ones, my dad would always pick up like, what are you doing this winter? And he'd start bringing them towards the wrestling team. So yeah, my senior year of high school, we had our best team ever, and my dad has a big part of that for sure.
Having that model.
Yeah.
Can you relate to any of this?
Oh yeah, I
I know
totally.
you had such a great father too, growing up as well.
incredible dad.
Yep.
Both my parents were just incredible people,
It helps.
and just very supportive of everything. My dad used to play football with me. I've said this in the past. I don't know if on this show, but he always just say, because you can.
Yeah.
He threw me the football. If I dropped it, oh, Dad, he said, get it. Oh, Dad, I don't know if I can. Because you can. Yes, you
Yes,
can.
Yeah.
It's all right here.
Absolutely.
I shared that with my own kids. I share it with anybody.
Absolutely.
Any doubts? No, because you can.
Yeah.
Because you can.
Because you can.
And that's key.
Absolutely.
That's key. And gosh, now more than ever in our world,
Yes,
the way it is. Come on,
Absolutely.
folks.
Yeah.
Let's get it right, move forward, and make it happen.
Absolutely.
Because you can.
Because you can. Well, and one of the things that you're doing now is coaching, and you say you coach, probably young, all ages.
Absolutely.
Right. And you said something that either they're all in or they're not. They're not going to be as successful if they're not all in. As a coach, you have such a powerful role. You are their mentor. You could be their father figure. So what things are you trying to instill in them? You have because you can.
Yeah, playing off what she's
other
just shared with us.
Yeah.
Nina's absolutely right. But what's the message that you're trying to? Are there 1, 2, 3 things that you want to make sure that little guy right there, when he's up here, he remembers what you've shared with him?
Yeah, and there's different levels to that, and that's what's great about my gym is that, like you said, I get to coach a kids class with 5 and 6-year-old boys and girls, and I get to coach guys that fight on national TV as well. So I'm coaching it, and I coach fitness classes with housewives in it. You know what I mean? And I'm there to motivate them as well. And that's how
I took one of their classes.
That's how Nina and I met. So, but everyone's there for different reasons. Obviously, for the kids, it's amazing to watch growth, and not growth in martial arts, growth in self-confidence, growth in everything gets better. It's great growth for the parents' relationship because you see dad who had that kid that was getting bullied, that he now knows that his son's not getting bullied anymore. The dad's got his chest out a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's so cool. For the young guys that are trying to make a living, it's not easy.
Right.
That's my message. Like, you have to be all in. Like, because you can't. Like, you're gonna regret it if you don't. If you go all in and it doesn't work out, I think you'll.
At least
Sorry,
you gave it
at
100%.
least you know.
Yeah.
You knew. You went all in.
You're
I
sure-
was willing to take that chance.
Yeah, and you've said that you were willing to take that chance, but were there times, and again, I go back to the title of this show,
Yep.
mental wellness, sports and life. So how did it affect you? What she does every day as a psychologist, how about you? Were there some tough times that you went through, and share some of the I don't want to say the negatives, but the
Yep.
down times
Oh,
that you had to endure. What are some of the things
Maybe
you had to
there's a story
overcome?
that stands out to you.
There's lots of. I mean, there's great highs, but there's lots of lows.
Well, maybe
too,
something you might share
Yeah,
with our audience
so-
as to what you had to endure.
I've had to deal with things as much as before the UFC. You're not making a lot of money fighting. I'll just tell you the number I made. $3,000 for a fight was a lot of money to me. A lot of money to me at the time. And I was fighting once a month to buy groceries and buy diapers and pay rent and all this stuff, and it was crazy times. And we got a $3,000 check, and I went home and I put it in the bank, and we paid off a bunch of debt. Like, we were excited. Like, this is what we're going to do. We paid the rent, blah, blah, blah. The check bounced. I was $1,500 negative. I had no idea how I was going to get even positive, let alone how I was going to pay rent next, blah, blah, blah. And I never got paid again. And luckily, again, my parents stepped in. But it was like moments like that, you know, or fights would get canceled, and you know you need that fight to get to pay rent. You're not making a lot of money, and fights would get canceled because your opponent got hurt or whatever happened, and the promoter doesn't owe you. He's not going to pay you just because you thought you know. So there's been so many tough times owning a small business, right? Trying to open a gym while trying to be a professional fighter. How many times I've tried to how many times I've literally not paid myself for weeks and just to keep the doors open, and it's not been easy. It's not been easy. I just didn't take no for an answer, you know, and
Any regrets?
Yes, I've made personal regrets, personal decision regrets. I've made regrets that I've hurt people that didn't need to be hurted. Hurted, that's not a word. I've hurt people. But professional regrets? Maybe.
What's one of the biggest life lessons from one of your struggles that because we go, those are the great learning lessons sometimes, those struggles. I know for myself, I learned a lot through the struggles, even though they were painful, and I'm wondering what might yours be.
Great question. You cannot, I think I'm going to go back. One of the hardest pills for me to swallow in my career was I was released from the UFC. I knew I belonged in the UFC. I knew I was that level of fighter, but some things went against bad luck, whatever you want to call it. I was released.
Can you tell us why?
Record. I had 2 really weird fights in the UFC, and you can go look them up. 9 weeks apart of all things. One was in Texas, and one was in Abu Dhabi. So Abu Dhabi was first, actually, if I do this right. And it was a 31-second fight, and it was a fight that I knocked the guy out and thought I was going to get my hand raised. And they called it a no contest. And so I didn't get I didn't know anything about it, so I kind of looked like a fool on TV because I'm celebrating, and then they do the official announcement and say it's a no contest. I'm like, well, what's going on? And 2, the real truth is when you're entry-level UFC, you're still not making a lot of money. Yeah. So when you tell me I'm making $10,000 to fight and $10,000 more if I win, winning's it's a huge difference, right? And I only get to do this 2 or 3 times a year.
Right.
You know, so I'm like, I got to make every dollar I can. You just took $10,000 from my family. I was emotional. That guy turned into no contest. Let's not go there. 9 weeks later, I'm supposed to rematch him. It's a new guy in Texas. And I slip, and literally, like, the guy jumps on top. I'm winning the fight again, and the guy jumps on top of me, doesn't even hit me, and a Texas referee stops the fight. And if he touches someone in a fight, you can't restart it. Right. It's a rule. So it was like a TKO loss. It was trending on Twitter. It was like everyone knew I got, quote unquote, screwed. It was a bad call. But guess what? It's still a loss. Yeah. So now I started out my UFC career 2-0. I had a bad performance, was 2-1. Then I was 2-1-1 with a no contest. Then I was 2-1-2 with a call it what is a BS loss. And then I went down and I fought my last fight in the UFC was in Brazil, and personal problem, whatever. I had a horrible performance. I flat out, no excuses there, lost that fight, and they said, you're 2-3-1. You're not, you don't belong here. I was arguing, I'm 4-2. What are you talking about? Yeah. I'm not 2, right? So they released me. They said, you got to go win some fights, you'll get back. I won 4. This is probably the most pivotal moment in all my careers, which leads up to.
Well, and when you reflect on that, what was that life lesson you were going into, that life lesson that you learned through that?
That life lesson for me, because the next one I think is the big one. It's after I got released and I came back, but that one if I had to say, I mean, it goes back to the young guys. Like, I think I made it to the UFC, and I was still trying to, partly financial reasons, right? The UFC's not able to just let me forget about all my other responsibilities. That's the sad part about the sport. It's not the NFL. These guys aren't making $200,000 a year when they get signed, right? So I was trying to run a business. I was trying to be a dad. I wished, my regret to that was I needed to be a professional fighter. That should have been my focus, and I think that 4-2, that 5-1 record would have been there all day long if I would have been able to do that. It didn't. I couldn't change it. I got released, and they said you just got to win fights and you'll get back. And I won 4 straight fights, won a couple regional promotion title belts, and which was cool and whatever else. And I was going to win my 5th fight, and it was going to be here in Dallas on national TV. All my students get to come and watch. It was like a big deal, right? And this was kind of the fight that, Johnny, you win this fight, you're going back to the UFC where you belong. And the opponent was prime picking. I'll say it like that. He's a great guy. I'm not going to talk smack about him. But I should have won that fight. And arrogance / probably even more so personal, just messy personal life. Had a girlfriend, was not in a good place with her at all. We were living together. Had an ex-wife. That was messy. And my arrogance thinks I can just do it anyways. And I've got my girlfriend backstage with me before I even fight. I don't know why. And we're still arguing about the same crap we've been arguing about for a week before. Yeah. And guess what the other guy's doing? All he's worried about is beating me.
Yeah, focused. Yeah.
All he's worried about all day long is beating me. Mm-hmm. And I'm worried about her and this and that and everything else. And I got choked unconscious in front of everyone. I'm okay. Like, I wake up. But it's a weird thing. Like, you got 12-year-old little boys there that call you coach, that go to see you fight for the first time, and they see coach laying there. This guy's up screaming and dancing, and he just beat me, right? And I'm just not moving for a second. You know, they all realized I was okay. But that moment for me was, this is it. Like, I'm done. I'm done because I don't have 5 more fights in me. I'm not going to go win 4 more to get my job back. Like, it's not worth it. These regional promotions, they don't pay me nothing. I just need to be maybe just a business owner at this point. Maybe I just need to focus on that. I didn't know what I was going to do. But it took that fight to make me realize just how much personal bullcrap will affect your performance. Yeah. Like, I couldn't say it any better. I was worried about so much other crap that didn't matter in that moment. And that guy, all he cared about was beating me that night. He was gonna make a name off of me. He was going to the UFC, not me. That's what his mindset was, and he was right.
Yeah. Well, and I know today, like, that is your mindset. You've worked really hard at that, and the audience is probably going, what are you doing now that's helping you so much? Maybe, can you share maybe just a few things that is really helping you with your overall mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. Learning from that, right? I'm a veteran. I had 50-some MMA fights. And then I was really lucky because I thought I was done with MMA. And then here we are, bare knuckle boxing becomes a thing, and bare knuckle fighting championships is the fastest growing sport in the world. And because they're looking for credibility, the first ever event, they're looking for some UFC vets. Let's call Johnny Bedford. So that's how it started. I fought at bare knuckle 1. Had a lot of fun. It was something new. It was something exciting. I was like, I'm really good at this.
What is it that makes it fun and that you enjoy so much about it?
It's different, right? And the real truth is I'm getting older. And MMA is tough. It's longer rounds and grappling and wrestling and babying these guys on top. It's exhausting.
So how long can you go for something like this? What age?
I think
football players, mid-30s, maybe. You see some guys get close to 40. You
see MMA guys, UFC guys are typically checking out late 30s, right? You've got your guys that'll fight into their 40s. I think bare knuckle's changing it. I hope they don't get mad at me. I'll call it this. Bare knuckle's kind of an old man sport. It's all us UFC guys that don't want to wrestle anymore. We don't want to get our heads pulled on. We don't want to get choked and kicked, and we can just stand up in the middle and just kind of box and beat each other up and go home and get a paycheck.
And when you beat somebody up like that, do you hate those guys? Do you dislike those guys? Are you friends with these guys?
It goes back and forth. I mean, obviously, how personal does it get leading up to fights? But I just fought 2.5 weeks ago. Zero animosity. I told his mother hello and gave her a hug at the weigh-ins the day before. Like, literally, I Miss Barnett and gave her a hug. And she knew who I was. Obviously, we're fighting tomorrow, me and her son. I hugged him after the fight. There's times that you don't like them. They say stuff that takes you off. It's a slippery slope. You don't want to get too emotional. Obviously, that's what we're here for, right? You get all emotional. You can't fight. You don't fight with emotions. It'll show, right? I use the term blow your wad. You're about there holding your breath, trying to force things. I'm going to kill this guy. That's not good, right? That's not good. You need to slow your heart rate down. We need to be in the moment. We need to, yes. Be in the moment's a big word I got from Dr. Jericho. I was talking about earlier. Brad Jericho was all about being in the moment. We always talked about using thresholds. He said, before you walk in that cage, stop. Nothing else matters. You can't control the ref. You can't control the judges. You can't control the bad calls. All you can control is your performance for the next 3 rounds, 15 minutes. Stop. Be the best you can be for the next 15 minutes. Winning will take care of itself. That's I truly believe. If I show up and I'm the best me that I can be, I'm gonna do all right. When I'm worried about paying rent, I got to win this fight because I got to pay rent next. Oh, if I lose, I'm not gonna. You're in a bad place.
You're in a fear place. You don't want to be there.
You're in a bad place. Yes. So.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, we're heading down the home stretch here, and I'm just curious. Is we look at all that you've done and certainly heard about it all here, legacy. When you're done, you hang up the fists, you hang up the boots, you hang up the shorts, the T-shirt, the whatever. People are talking about Johnny. Remember him? What do you want them to think? What do you want them to share with their children and who you were and what you were all about?
Great question. I'm cementing that legacy right now. I am 6-1 in bare knuckle. I think I should be 7-0. I'm gonna get that one back. I said to them as the promotion, I'm gonna be the greatest bare knuckle boxer there ever was. I truly believe that. Like, I think I'm made for this sport. I think that I'm gonna be very hard to beat, and especially when I said I got better and I did it, but when I lost that fight, guess what? I had a personal drama in my life. Me and my business partner / boxing coach / business / best friend, guess what? We're no longer that anymore. I had to cut people out of my life. My last performance showed that. My last performance, the best Johnny showed up, and winning took care of itself. When you're arguing with your coach and missing workouts because he's not there, you start thinking about those things before you go in that ring. Man, I should have worked harder. I missed it. I didn't. That's not going to help you, right? It's all meant, when you walk in that ring, how you're going to perform that night. It's the ultimate lie detector test. I always said that. I tell the guys that all the time. You can tell me how hard you work on Facebook. We're going to find out. We're going to find out.
Well, I really admire that you are you're a fighter, but you're a coach and you're a father, and you balance a lot and a business owner. So good for you, because whatever you're doing a lot of great things, and it seems like your mindset is all about excelling, doing your best, and giving everything 100%.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Grateful to have you on.
Can't thank you enough for coming by, and we hope you're 7-0 or 14-0.
There you go.
Real soon.
Yes.
Real soon. Bottom line: be smart, be safe, stay safe, and all the best of luck.
Yeah.
Really fantastic.
Very much.
Wonderful.
It was great.
It was wonderful. Thank you,
Yeah,
Johnny, for
it
being
was.
here today.
You want to take us home?
Sure. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Conversations of Connection, and we will have more guests sharing their story like Johnny. Just wonderful show. So thank you for joining us today.
That's it for now. Till next week,
Yes.
I'm Scott Murray.
And I'm Dr. Nina Rios-Doria.
Stay safe.